My name is Oliver Pickard, and I've always dreamed of building my own car, together with my aerospace engineer and rallyist dad, Andrew.
Hello.
I found the perfect project.
This is my Cox GTM.
The remains of one of only 800 made.
And that looks bad, but when you look at it from the inside, it's even worse.
Crashed, fire damaged, rusted, unrestorable. We aren't just modifying, but completely re-engineering. We aren't just bolting on parts, we are making the tools that fabricate the parts to build my dream car. Bespoke, one of one. This is Project Mosquito. Hello!
Hello!
And welcome to the workshop. In this week's video, we are going to be making a new center console.
Yes, because the previous center console we made no longer fits. As we moved the knee bar 20 mil higher.
And because everything in this car is integrated and structural, our center console is part of the rigidity of the car. And it's also connected to the front bulkhead and heater support. So in order to mount our front bulkhead, first we need a center console, and then we can bolt up a heater and all of that. It's the first step in having structural panels inside the I'm trying not to say space cock, but inside the tube frame that has monocoque panels built into it.
Yeah.
Right, let's get cracking.
Get on it.
It's easier to show you than it is to tell you. Got shorts on today. It's that warm. And you know what short season means? Crippling hay fever. My legs look sexy, but I can't breathe. See top floor for now. So here we have the old center console, and as you can see, once I pop that on there, it's a bit vertical, and I don't like the look of it. So we need to extend that. We need to make a new one and extend it like this, so that it comes down into the center tunnel. And then we need to make some new side supports, because our side supports have obviously no longer fit. They're also 20 mil too short. So we need to make that, and then we can tie it into the front bulkhead. Yeah, it's all right. It's just a bit vertical, isn't it? And it's not the flowing lines I have envisaged. Here's a thought. Do we need to put the heater and mock the heater up? Huh?
You need to take the front end off.
Yeah, go on then. Oh, hey, that's easier. I've been second thoughts about taking out the sunroof now. Put it against the wall there. So the heater for the Mosquito, if you don't know, if you're new here, is from a Fiat Panda, an old one. Not the new Fiat Panda, the original Fiat Panda. And the reason is it's really lightweight, it's all self-contained, and it's a superb little piece of kit. And I said to my friend Jim, who is like the Panda whisperer, the man has done intergalactic mileage in Pandas. He's driven them in all across America, he's driven them like across the Sahara and all sorts. And Jim has a YouTube channel, in fact. His YouTube channel is also driven. I think he's just getting started. It's only a tiny channel. But if you like Fiat Pandas and you like adventures in normal cars, you might like his channel. But I said to Jim, I hope this heater's good, because I've got no experience in Fiat Pandas, and you know, you never know with a Fiat product. You don't know whether it's designed for Sicily, or it's like beautifully hot and you never need to turn your heater on, or whether it's designed for the Alps. And Jim just sends me a photo of his Fiat Panda in the Arctic Circle. I'm like, yeah, it'd be all right. It's a really nice bit of kit though, and it weighs nothing. It's superb. Its heater controls are built into it and everything. Where's my cough gone?
Yeah.
Oh, it's like that, is it? Thank you. It definitely needs a good clean. This is minging. It's all full of mouse droppings. This definitely needs a clean. I think that'll be alright. Yeah. I think this is the first panel we ever made for the Mosquito. I have the rubber things for this, but obviously it needs to be aimed at the windscreen, yeah? So I'm thinking this can be mounted as high and that way as possible, can't it?
So if we get rid of this now.
Yeah. It's the nice thing about the Fiat Panda, there's not a lot holding them together. Both a blessing and a curse. Heater matrices, need to undo this little ferrule. Anki. That's magnificent, that. There's a flap here for the foot blower. A little bit of mouse nest in there. Flap for the foot blower, it's all cable controlled. That's cool, that.
It'll be simpler.
Yeah. If you don't know how a car heater works, then this is basically it. This is called a heater matrix, and all it is a tiny radiator. Just like the main radiator that lives in the front of your car. And when you turn your heater on, there's a little tap, a physical tap in this case, that pulls with the help of a cable. That allows fresh, warm coolant from your engine to circulate through this tiny radiator. So the water goes in, nice and hot, circulates round, and there's air flowing through it, thanks to the help of the fan, and that blows warm air, heated by your engine, into your cabin, and warms up your cabin. And this, even though it's quite small, is one massive heater matrix for one tiny cabin. So even when it's freezing cold, we're going to be nice and toasty and have a super fast screen demister. And as light as this is, it will actually weigh something when it's full of water. There's a little locator pin on here, and that just fits in there like there, like that. That just pops in. This is a nice round barrel, yeah? So I'm thinking we just cut it off around there. Yeah, well, we'll leave this bit for now, but just around here, yeah? So what we're going to do is cut around where the fan is, so around here, get rid of this trapdoor, get rid of this box and all of this bulk, and in the future we'll make a little fiberglass snorkel that's wafer thin, that fits on the end here, and has a tube that runs to the front of the car, where we'll have a new trapdoor. Because having the trapdoor up here by your heater means that as you're driving along, you've got this like space, this tube that can just fill up with stuff, pollen, dust, all that kind of thing. And the first time you turn on your heater, it just blows like crud all over your interior of your car. And we'll be able to fit like a little tiny panel filter, just a little tiny car panel filter. And then that way, in summer when it's all full of pollen and I'm very hay fevery, it doesn't make me sneezy, and I can have like a modern filtered heater system, which is awesome. So yeah, all this can go. The reason I mentioned previously making the Snorkel out of fiberglass rather than something like carbon fibre is for a couple of reasons. One, if it's a non-structural part, you're better off using fiberglass because one, it's super cheap. Two, it able to conform to curves really well, which carbon fibre isn't. Carbon fibre only likes like straight lines and flat things unless you're using a mould and injection or like pre-preg carbon fibre where you put it in an autoclave afterwards. Whereas fiberglass, you can make it so thin. In fact, the old plastic Porsches are a really good. A lot of people might not know about those cars. Cars like the 917 Porsche, they're referred to as the plastic Porsches because much like our little GTM, they were made of fiberglass. And if you look at a lot of the vent work on those cars, like, so if you Google an image of one, I might even put an image up of one without its engine cover on, all of like the brake ducts and stuff like that are all made of fiberglass, and they are so thin you can like read through it. And it's a lot easier to make something like that out of fiberglass than it is out of carbon fibre. And it's also, if it's not a structural part, it's actually better being fiberglass. Carbon is stronger for the weight. But if you don't need the strength, you better just have in the lightweight. Now then, the eternal question of what's still holding you together? Hang on. Ooh, no.
Not a lot.
Not a lot. There we go. I didn't want it to snap. It's at this point in the video that somebody tells us in the comments that this is a really rare sort of Panda heater. It needs more prettying up, but this went through here, yeah?
Yep.
It'll do for now. Tiny heater. All that just so it wasn't in the way. Well, it is actually slightly lighter.
A lightweight to start with, so it's super light.
I don't know. Yeah, can you see how this cable's like super in the way?
No, it's one of those, there's enough room for your feet.
Yeah, me too. Now we have a sneaking superstition that we've actually gained room inside. I mentioned this in the video where we put the sensor tunnel in, but we think we've actually gained room somehow because of the height of the floor. Once it's actually gone on our wheels, we've been able to measure it properly. Not a lot, but a little. But a little is all it takes. The thing is, we can make a mounting hole here. There, that's a hole. Rather than it being a massive tab, we have a bit more precision than 1970s Fiat. It's not a high bar, is it? So. Matteo rolls to life. He made me laugh when he's like, Fiat was shocked to discover that they were a budget brand. Like that episode of Family Guy where Peter finds out that he's fat because no one's ever told him. Why don't you sit in it?
Because that's just it way. So what angle do you want it at?
I think something like that's perfect. For you?
It's another 30 mil longer. 30 mils there.
Yeah, a bit less than that, maybe.
What about your gear stick?
Yeah, I need to sit in it, don't I?
So how big is the gear stick pad? You know, the...
I don't know. Being a short shifter, there's no way of it's as big as we make it, yeah? Because we've talked about making a gated shifter, haven't we? Yeah? What do you think? A gated manual? So, yeah, you don't want it to. I don't mind if it does intrude slightly.
It can't, because
Of course it can. Have you ever seen an Ep59? Of course it can, it could be up here. Yeah? But, what do you think?
Because we've got all this as well.
Yeah.
So, I think it should be there.
Yeah. So, what, 10 mil?
20 mil.
Yeah, because I don't want to be...
Well, if you go for the Colin Chapman rule of one hand,
yeah, that's true.
The steering wheel and the gear lever,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not going to be far off there. It's there, look.
Reaching forward to change gear. Forward of the steering wheel. Yeah, because when you're in third...
Yeah, you're in second, and
Yeah.
when you're in second, you don't want to be up here.
Yeah,
You
that's
You
true.
want to be there. First, because it's only short shifts, short throw. Yeah, so 15 mil, so that's the angle.
Okay. Happy with that. One thing's for sure, it's not going to be a short skirts kind of car. Although I'm not in the habit of wearing short skirts.
Turn on this side.
Yep. We definitely need to buy some thinner steel. Because at the minute we've only got 2 mil and 1. It's one of those things that I could mess with all day long. Like, I could sit here and mess for a full day and get it absolutely bob on. At some point I will. But for now, that looks pretty clean.
Our next job is to make the transmission tunnel slightly narrower here. But this allows more room here to put in the pedal box. So it gives, Oliver's got size 12 feet, that's size 13 in America, same as me. So if we want to drive this thing, we're having like toes amputated and things like that, we've got to make the tunnel slightly narrower, which gives us more foot room. And also, we've also moved the seat across, But so we've still got a straight ahead pedal position. The pedals are not going to be like this, you know, like a Stratos, and the steering wheel over here, like it is in some cars. We're going to have a perfectly ergonomic, beautifully set up car, which is all the reason we've gone to so much trouble to do all the chassis work ourselves, rather than just buying another tub and starting making another GTM. We've actually made it to fit. Because I'm 6'2" and he's 6'6", and I'd like to drive it, and obviously Oliver's going to drive it. So first and foremost, we needed to make it super ergonomic for tall people.
Because now we have our centre console, thank you Dad, and we have our heater placement. We can now sort out the tunnel to make room for big legs, and I've got the dimensions. I found a technical drawing yesterday for the pedal box. So thank you to whoever uploaded that. I can't remember who it was now. I think it was some like speed parts shop in America. But it's amazing how hard these things are to find. Technical specs. If you sell Go Fast bits, make sure you upload all of the dimensions. It makes people's life so much easier. So, like I say, we've got our side A, we've got side B. Now we need the bottom, and then we can meet it all in the middle. We also need to keep this tunnel as big as possible. It would have been nice to have loads of interior room and no centre tunnel. But we have coolant hoses, both hot and cold. We have fuel lines, so we've got a line there and a return. And because it's a wafty engine, it's got to have quite big diameter fuel lines. We have all the electrical that needs to go to the rear. We have brake lines that need to go to the rear. Like, there's a lot that needs to fit inside this tunnel. And coolant lines for an engine this big are quite big, because with power comes heat. So we need to keep this as big as possible, but at the same time, we need to fit me. And it's still a GTM at the end of the day. We still want to keep that essence. And the essence of a GTM floor pan, it's not often you ask what the essence of a floor is, but the essence of a GTM floor pan is the sills, which, okay, we have improved, but it's the sills and that metal centre tunnel. And that keeps it still a GTM in essence, and a wheel in each corner. So we're going to keep as much as we can, but it's still got to look right, and let's face it, nobody really cares about the shape of a footwell. First, shall we make the... Do you want to notch the bulkhead first?
Fit it.
Can you hold it? Can you hold it? This is one of those things, everything being connected to everything else, right? So in this video we've had seating position, heater position, pedal position, bulkhead position, and now the height of the body off of the chassis, all being part of some simple side panels and a centre console for a dashboard. So yeah, and it's what happens with such a small car, but we need to get this body as tight down as possible, don't we?
Yeah, we can drop this down.
Yep.
And then we can adjust it up and down.
And then we can drop the body onto it and make it fit.
Yeah.
Yep. Because it's catching in 7 million places, this body. It's all very artisanal. Has anybody else noticed that artisanal has become code for a bit rubbish? Like artisanal bread, it's bread, but a bit rubbish. Artisanal candles. Candles look like they were made by a 6-year-old.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
No, artisan should be like the finest craftsmanship. One of the first marine fabrication jobs I ever did as a teenager was for like a day fishing boat, like the sort of thing you have for weekends. That's kind of affordable, I suppose, like the Toyota Camry of day fishers. And I did everything that I'd always been taught to do by my aerospace engineer father. And I made a jig, and I made sure that my jig was all square and all level, and made it all super precise to the width and the depth and stuff that I'd been given. And then I made this big radar arch and welded it all, finish welded it all, and it was all perfect. And also because I could finish weld it because I had my jig, and it all was perfect. And then I took it and put it on the boat, and the boat was bent like a banana. And nothing on the boat was square or level or anything like symmetrical. And on that day, I learnt that artisanal things made in small production by hand are never quite as square as they look. And it's a lot like old houses, actually. That's the same. Like, none of the door frames are square or level. That wall isn't square or level. And you've just kind of got to make it look right sometimes. And that's, you may notice in some photos of the chassis, this top hoop is actually slightly down on that side. And the reason is the body's slightly down on that side. And when we actually made it, we first tacked it together. We tacked it together square and level, put the body on, and the body didn't fit. The other day, someone called what I do, that rambly thing that I do when I go off of one and have a rant, they called it engineering philosophy. And I quite like that. And in today's episode, it's engineering Buddhism. The life of every part affects every other part. Because they all want to live in the same space. Yeah, it's not straight. Not even. Can you see this? The gap here? This is what I was talking about. It's the nature of things made by hand. This is not, obviously the rule is straight, but the body's not straight at all. And it's just part of working with older stuff. A lot of, and even like production cars are like that. Anybody who works on muscle cars or anything from like the 60s will know that there's some wiggle room in stuff. And it's one of the reasons why buying a kit for something that's just bolt in is never just bolt in. So it's better to make your own bits and then bolt them in, because then you know they're going to fit your car. They might not fit your friend's car, but they'll definitely fit yours. And if you remember way back in like the first 10 episodes or so, when we had the original floor pan in here, the original floor pan had some holes cut in exactly the same place. And this is the first panel, I think, that we ever made for this car. So it's the first bit of Mosquito. So that's a cool feeling, that. It's a really comfy seating position, because we've reclined the seat. The under leg bolster for the seat actually lifts my legs up, so I'm actually sat reclined. It's like being in an Eames lounger to drive. It's lovely. Very Maserati Bora. Short sleeves and shorts. Oh, that's itchy. Oh.
Yeah, that's all right. Need to do is take another 10 mil off this, and then bring the tape in a little bit more. Because we just need that extra bit of clearance here for the pedal box.
That's it.
212 mil.
Fantastic. The thing to remember is, as well, that we are getting clearance for the master cylinders here, not for my feet, because my feet will be further up on a platform, on a footplate, if you will. You can really see now just how much room we've gained above my knees, and that's really important, not just for when I'm sat here, but for getting in the car, because we've got a space so I can get my foot in and underneath the steering shaft. You know, you can have a removable steering wheel, but you can't have a removable steering shaft. And as I've come over, it's not far off a centre seater driving position. It's not far off like a Formula car, but we've still got plenty of room for a passenger. And me being slightly over this way is a really good thing, because the case here is over that way, it's on the passenger side. So we get really good weight balance both left to right. Everyone talks about front to rear. They don't so much talk about left to right, and that's equally as important, because otherwise you end up with a car that goes left really well but doesn't go right that well. And unless it's a NASCAR, it's not that ideal. It's really comfy. It's like the womb. It's not very big, but it's all that you need. After all, I'm driving a car, I'm not playing tennis, and you know, you don't want to be thrown about when you're in a sports car. So it's perfect. And I find minimal seating like these. I've heard from loads of people, I might have said this before, but I've heard from loads of people that these early low silly seats aren't comfy, but I find them beautifully comfy. I think it's because I'm like, you know, long, thin cyclist body. I keep banging my elbow on there. Long, thin cyclist body. And it just fits me perfectly. I think if you're a bit portly, you might find it difficult, or a bit short, it'd hit you in the wrong place, but really comfy for me. And yeah, super happy. And of course, this centre console being tapered the way that it is. If it was tapered like this, like it is in a Lotus Europa, say, I tend to catch my knee on it on long drives. In fact, years ago, when I lived in Spain, I had a Daihatsu four-wheel drive, and I absolutely loved it. But one of the biggest problems I had is that at half throttle, when you're on the motorway, my knee used to rub on the centre console, and after like a day's driving, it genuinely caused discomfort. So that's not a problem. We've got loads of room. It's superb. We don't need a padded dash pad or anything like that. It's brilliant. And my feet will be up a little bit, but not a ton. I'm really happy with that. There's room for a little dead pedal and everything. I say dead pedal. It'll be a tiny little piece of inch box gusset that I can rest the edge of my shoe on.
It will not be a piece of inch gusset.
What will it be? A nice dimple-dyed piece of aluminium?
It'll be a nice dimple-dyed piece of aluminium.
Aluminum! Who wins that? Yeah, a little bit. How's that for a big visual change, huh? And the thing is, in this video, we haven't actually, other than the little centre console that you made, we haven't actually made anything.
No.
We've just made things that we already had fit.
Yeah, and reworked it all, and it's come out beautifully. We've got plenty of room for feet,
Yeah.
plenty of room for the pedal box. We've gained room, obviously, because we moved the knee bar higher. Again, above knee room is much, much better.
We've got loads of room for fuel as well, because the front of the heater's gone. And yeah, it's the 80-20 thing. The last 20% of something takes 80% of the time. Fettling is, no, it's true. Fettling is a really time-consuming thing. Getting everything just right, so.
Because we could have actually just left the knee bar where it was, left all the panels we'd already made just like they were. But if we can improve it as we're going along, let's improve it. Let's do it.
There's that Japanese philosophy, isn't there? That every time you touch something, you make it better.
Yeah, Kaizen.
Kaizen, that's the one. And that's it. It's a thing of like, as you get, I've gotten better at doing this stuff as we've been doing it. I'm sure the people who've been watching all of these videos all know that. And you learn to see things in a slightly different way, don't you?
Yeah.
I think you learn something with everything that you do.
Yeah, obviously everything's new. This has never been created ever before by anybody else.
Nope, and that's why stop asking if I'll sell you one. No, that's it. It's one of one. It's in the intro.
About Highlander, there can be only one.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. Like, I love that it's a GTM. I always wanted a GTM. And if this car could have been restored, I would have restored it. And I would have had like a really old school historic racer, like cafe racer style GTM. I adore that style, that kind of historically correct, authentic.
Yeah, 1960s.
Yeah, like well-worn, late 60s, early 70s kind of cafe racer style. I love it. And there'll be a lot of that in this. But the thing is that this car wasn't restorable. This car wasn't savable. You know, the front clip's from one car, the white bit's from another car, and the red bit's from another car.
The original tub was just a tub of rubbish.
Yeah. It had been repaired and crashed and repaired and rotted and bodged, and it was just, so there was no original car left, you know what I mean? This isn't, we're philosophical today. I don't know what's wrong with me. What's its, Ship of Theseus. This isn't Ship of Theseus. This is what happens when you pull Ship of Theseus out the sea and then restore it and make it better. And that's the thing. It's, if we're going to do it, we might as well make it as good as we can make it. And that has been the philosophy from day one.
Very first tune.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing. If we can pick up a heater, well, can we make it a little bit better? Can we make the centre console a little bit better? Can we have a little bit more footroom? Can we have a little bit more knee room? You know, GTMs are famous. One of the reasons why you don't see them in historic racing is because you can't fit in one with a helmet, even a standard one, unless you're like a Lilliputian. So for me, being 6'6", I've got helmet room. I mean, it's amazing for me because it's my dream car, but I actually fit in it. I don't have to drive it barefoot. I don't have to, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. There's no downside. Because if you're building something for yourself, there shouldn't be a downside. It's like people who make their own. I know I keep talking about suspension, but it's like people who make all of their own suspension and then fit a wheel spacer. Right?
Crazy.
You've made all your own. That's your fault. That wheel spacer is your fault. You are culpable, and someone should come into your workshop, sit you down, and shout at you. Because the fact is, if you designed it right in the first place, it wouldn't need a wheel spacer. I can understand it when it's Porsche or Porsche, and they put a 5mm wheel spacer in like a GT3 because it uses the same upright as all the other 911s. I get that. That's fine. but they also use a different hub and stuff because they use centre lock wheels. I get that, that's fine. But if you're using like more than a 5mm spacer for brake clearance and you've designed all of your own suspension from scratch, you've done it wrong, because you shouldn't need a spacer, you know? And that's the thing. I don't like widgets. I don't like brackets. I want it all to be integrated, and that takes time and it takes precision. And I'm so happy to see it all fit properly.
Yeah, we've actually lost, I don't know, maybe 2 kilos.
We've lost, and we've also lost weight from the heater console, from the centre tunnel. That's the word. But yeah, I'm very hay fevery this week. And we've run out of time. We would have loved to finish weld it and stuff, but sometimes you've only got so much time. Yep. And you've got to do what you can with the time that you have. And if we keep making this video, it will end up as next video. So in the next video, we'll finish weld the centre tunnel and make sides and a heater support and tie it all into the front bulkhead, yeah?
Yep.
There we go, people. You've only waited like 50 odd episodes to see this bulkhead be part of the car. Yeah, the return of the bulkhead and the sheet metal brake.
Yeah.
And if you've enjoyed watching these videos and you were like, what? They made their own sheet metal brake? Yes, we did. And we made a video all about it. So
and our own pipe bender.
And our own pipe bender. That was mixed. Our own pipe bender worked eventually. I love Brenda, but she's incredibly dodgy, and she's a bit fickle. She's an OSHA violation waiting to happen. She's a danger to herself and others. I get emails about Brenda, and people are like, will you tell me how to make Brenda? Have you got drawings and plans for Brenda? I'm like, yes, I've got drawings. Yes, I've got plans. No, I won't tell you, just buy one. Because Brenda is waiting to just injure somebody. So she can bend pipe, but she might take you with her. So yeah, I'll put a link to the entire Mosquito playlist on the screen, as well as a button that looks like my face. Don't forget to click on my face to subscribe. Do you like what we've done? Do you want to be upset at us that we've cut apart a Panda heater? Please leave your grievances in the comments below.
Leave us a comment.
Yeah. I always read every single one of your comments, and I try and reply to every single one that I have time for. Recently, you've all been amazing, and this channel's growing faster than I can keep up with. So if I don't manage to reply to all of your comments, then I'm sorry, but I'm doing my best. There's only so many times in a day, and time that I spend answering comments is time that I don't spend either editing video, building cars, or collapsing a pile exhausted.
Oh, don't forget gardening.
Or
building houses.
Or building a house, yeah. So thank you all for watching. Please be awesome to each other, and we'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.